Hello and welcome to the preview for the Galatasaray game. Welcome. I have got some lovely guests with me. Please unmute yourselves before I introduce you because I have a funny feeling you're all going to forget. Jamie, welcome. How are you doing, mate?
How you doing, fella? You okay?
Yeah, not bad. Peter, first time show on with you. How are you doing?
Not too bad considering the weekend.
Oh, yeah, perfect answer. Kevin, what about you? First time with you as well.
Yeah. Hopefully be better this time tomorrow.
Well, yeah. What time is it now? Yeah, we'll just be Is it 8 o'clock tomorrow kick-off or 6?
Is it?
It's 8 o'clock,
Is it 8
yeah.
o'clock?
Okay.
We'll be one down this time tomorrow, probably.
Oh, yeah, we'll be about 4 minutes in, so yeah, probably 1-0, won't it? So, obviously, we'll get on to the game very soon. Obviously, there's lots to talk about from the weekend as well. But obviously, I wanted to get your thoughts, Jamie. I'm going to come to you first. There's just been some breaking news in the last 15 minutes, I believe. Mark Kleinman from Sky, journalist over there, mentioning how Jim Ratcliffe is considering buying a minority stake in Man United. Apparently, he's in his latest offer has proposed to the Glazers to acquire only 25% of the total shares. Now, obviously, there has been many NDAs signed, so every sort of bit of takeover news can also be taken with a pinch of salt. I think it's always important to remember that. But what do you make of that? Do you think that's true? And what would you make of it if it is true? Jamie, I'm going to come to you first. Jamie, Peter, and Kev, that's kind of the order I've got you on my screen. So we're going to go that way. So, Jamie, do you want to start us off, mate?
I had a little read of it just as I was waiting for you boys to come in. To be honest with you, I don't take any notice of this takeover talk. I'll be real with you, because I've had enough of it anyway. Like, it's just the same old dribble coming out from certain outlets that favour this buyer, and the next one in 2 weeks' time, Custis is putting out that Qatar are getting it, and it's all over the place. So I've been a very staunch believer that they're not going to sell. And I've kind of ingrained that in my mindset, because you hear that many different stories, and I think it's very easy to just get your hopes up. Like, we all want the same thing in the fan base. Like, we all want them out. We need them out. Let's be real. It's not a want, it's a need for Man United's future. And I tend not to read it, because you get your hopes up, you see decent outlets putting good stuff out, and you're thinking, right, that's got some legs. And then nothing comes of it, and it's all quiet. And it's like you say, it's a lot of paperwork's been signed to advise that they don't talk about certain things. And I do think there is movement going on in the background that we're not privy to as supporters. But when I see stories like that, it doesn't surprise me with Jim Ratcliffe. He's desperate. Everybody knows he's desperate to get the club. He wants to acquire a minority stake and keep the problem at the club. And I think that just says it all. And whether you're on the fence with, you want Qatar, you want a full sale, you're a Jim Radcliffe because he's British, and you don't really want the Qataris getting the club, which is a whole different show. We could talk about that, and the politics behind it. I think I tend not to read a lot into it. It would be good to have. I've never met Peter before or Kevin, so it would be good to hear what they've got to say on it. But I tend to have the idea of just stay away from all of that, because until we know concrete facts and figures, I'm not really interested in it, because you just seem to get your hopes up as a Man United fan. How many times in the past, year and a half have we been spun information, and it always seems to come out something positive about the takeover when a negative result comes, and it's like, right, how can we spin a positive on a really negative performance and display and whole running of the club at the moment? So I just think it's spin PR coming from the teams that want to keep the name in the media, and I don't really buy into it, to be honest with you.
Yeah, Peter, your thoughts? What do you think? I mean, I've just got it up here. Yeah, so read it out properly. It was a bit of a briefer version, but Sir Jim Ratcliffe, Ineos Petrochemicals billionaires contemplate buying a minority stake in Manchester United Football Club rather than seeking full control at Old Trafford in an attempt to conclude the 10 months long process to determine its future ownership. It is understood to envisage buying some of the A shares held by stock market investors, as well as a chunk of the more powerful B shares owned by the Glazer family. It's unclear at this time whether this later proposal will gain momentum. Peter, what do you make of that?
I just fully agree with what Jamie said there. Like, it's at this point, it's just water off a duck's back. Do you remember, like, back in February when it was the first round of this is like the final bids and everything's going to happen? It was really tense, and you were checking Twitter every 2 seconds, and you felt like everything matters. And then as it's gone on, like back in June, it was like Qatar have bought the club. It's been agreed with Bloomberg, and it's just gone on and on and on. At this point, it's hard to even pay attention to it. Like Jamie was saying, like Custis put that out on Sunday. The Qatar were going to do it, like you said, directly after bad results, and it's just spin and PR the whole time. And it just doesn't make any sense for Radcliffe to do that anyway. Why would you give up 1.5 billion quid to not have any say in anything to do with the club and be the most hated figure in United history potentially? You might be hated more than the Glazers for giving that false hope, and then for also like keeping the Glazers in charge by funding them, and his money probably go towards like rebuilding the stadium and more revenue coming into the club so they can stay. So I don't see that happening in any way. I think it's more, you just don't know who it's coming from. That's the thing. And I know it was said earlier in the week that he was going to restructure his bid, but that was it was saying that was to appease the minority stakeholders. I don't think the minority stakeholders are going to be happy if the club is taken 25% is taken and they're not getting sorted out. So again, I think it's just media for media's sake. It'll come and go. By tomorrow, we'll be talking about something else. And yeah, at this point, I agree with Jamie. Like, I'd rather the Glazers stay than Qatar take over, because I think if Qatar take over, that's game over. Like, there's no, football's gone as we know it in a lot of ways anyway. But if United fell into their hands, like, what's the point anymore, really? At least you can rally against the owners now. If we start winning things, it would all feel completely hollow. So, yeah, I don't see any end route at the moment. And I think when it happens, it'll just drop. Like, it'll be bang, the club sold. Because as he's mentioned, like the NDAs, and this is big business. Like, Neil Custis isn't breaking the news with the biggest sports sale ever. So yeah, it's hard to pay attention to it.
Yeah, 100%. Kevin, what do you make of all the news coming out? Do you make it true? Do you make it false? Do you think it's journalists just talking nonsense again, or do you think there's some backbone to it again?
I think that's a headline that's been copied and pasted from a year ago, isn't it? Really, like he's interested in maybe buying a percentage. I don't want someone who buys a percentage. I want someone who buys the whole club anyway. There's no point in getting someone in who is kind of admitting that they don't really have the money to actually take over the club, and it's not going to solve any problem at all. We're going to be stuck here in a year asking with a song for Jim Radcliffe out, as well as Glazers out. That's not what we want at all, is it?
No, of course. I mean, just obviously sort of just tying up what you've all said there. United have obviously sold papers and always have done, and ultimately, I think it just sounds like a load of journalists who've barely reported at all, just trying to make a little bit of a name for themselves. I don't think there's any truth in it. I mean, it was 3 days ago that Qatar were being told that they were 2 weeks off buying it. Now all of a sudden, Jim Ratcliffe's offering another way out for the Glazers. It just doesn't make sense. And I think the important thing is that there's loads of NDAs signed, and there's just a lot of talk and gossip, which is the main thing. None of us are going to know. And Jim Ratcliffe is certainly not going to Neil Custis, telling him what the hell is going on with the biggest sports sale in history. Like you just said there, Peter, it's utter nonsense. Custis is famous for talking garbage about United. There's a reason why he was kicked out of so many press conferences by Ferguson. Same with other journalists as well. So I think it's something that you just need to take with a pinch of salt. I think it's typical. Talk about United on Twitter, get a massive reaction, get me loads of engagement, and get me loads of likes and retweets, and then it brings loads of traction and attention to my Twitter profile, or X as we now call it. So I think
there's something on the back of this that's just it's not got loads of relevance, but it's just something to add to this conversation, because I haven't spoke about the takeover in a long time. I haven't been on the show for a long time, to be honest. I was at a charity football game. I live in Newcastle, for any of you that I don't know if you I haven't interacted with all of you guys before, but I live in Newcastle. I was at a charity football game in Newcastle a little while back, and I was speaking to a journalist that was ridiculed for the Newcastle takeover, and he was spot on in the end. And he got hell's abuse up here for talking lies and the same sort of stuff that United fans are saying that there's no reality to this at the moment. And he kept going on and on that he was working on in the background. I ain't going to name the guy. He's quite prevalent on Twitter. He's big in the Newcastle supporters. And he was adamant it was Qatar. I had a chat with him. I get on really well with him. I know him personally. He's a live journalist in the Northeast. And he was absolutely bang on with the takeover, and he was adamant that Qatar was getting it. And I was like, so how do you know that? And he was like, I think everybody knows that. I think it's common knowledge, but nothing's come of it. But if I'm going to trust anybody to have an opinion where I'll take something from it and hold it, it's him. And although he's based in Newcastle, he's a journalist. He's a football journalist. So, and he was absolutely bang on with the Saudi takeover. And as I say, I watched many shows with him on it, and he was ridiculed by people. He's lying. He's a snake. He's working. It's PR spin, and he got it right. So it's a case of maybe one day I'll be able to drop that. Actually, he did tell me that, and it come true with Qatar, but I don't know. So I just thought I'd add that in there, because if there's that many like PR spinning plates with this story, that how do you know what's true and what isn't? But somebody that I know that's a genuine good guy that's been right about these sorts of things has given me that information. I've never even mentioned this to Keane before. I've kept it to myself, to be honest, because nothing's come of it. But he's given me authority to drop his name if it does come true, because he's told me that the privy information that he was given is going to be them. But it's a case of nothing's come of it yet. But if I was going to believe someone, it would be someone that I have respect for and that has actually delivered before on news like this. You know, it's different from Man United and Newcastle, don't get me wrong, but it's the same sort of process. It's the same part of the world that are trying to buy the club sort of thing. So we'll see what happens about that.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of hit it right there, though. There is a big PR spin and around this particular takeover, and it's probably because it is Man United, obviously, compared to Newcastle. But the amount of stuff that has been said about it, a journalist is bound to be right eventually, because they've gone around the sun so many times to effectively cover all bases. Not saying that particular journalist has done that, but everyone online is eventually just going to write, oh, it'll be Jim Ratcliffe. Oh, it's definitely about to happen. Oh, it'll happen in 2 weeks. Oh, it's Qatar. It's nearly done. And eventually that will come true. And then they'll just delete all their other tweets and pretend that they were right. It ultimately just everyone just needs to focus on getting the Glazers out. And when there's actual news, it'll be announced by the club. I think people need to stop listening to journalists and stop listening to people that, at the end of the day, it's a massive football sale, a massive sporting sale. It's hardly going to be told to journalists who work for the Sun or for the Daily Mail, or even Sky Sports for that matter. At this point, it's going to be a case where the only people that can drop this kind of news is the club themselves, the Glazers, or the people that have bought it. But anyway, what we'll do is we will move over to tomorrow. Obviously, our first Champions League game did not go to plan. We mentioned it the other week. 3-1. It was 3-1, I think, wasn't it? Not the best. No, it wasn't 3-1, was it? It was 4-3 in the end.
4-3 in the end, yeah.
It did 3-1 to Bayern and got it very wrong. It was a very bizarre game. It was, I can't remember what happened in it. What happened?
We got the hell beaten out of us, and the scoreline complimented us a lot.
Yeah, I was actually at the game. I was in the home end actually of a family friend.
I forgot what happened.
Yeah, well, yeah. Even being Ashford, I forget what happened in a way. I've actually family, friends, like neighbours, and I'm living in London now, but in Dublin, who support Bayern Munich. Like the only German Irish people. It's bizarre. They support Bayern Munich, but they're proper fans. And I went over with them and was in the home end. And I'd been there in 2010 with them for when we played them in the quarterfinal. Very different feel going into it. We're going in expecting to lose. We played well first 20. Onana, stinker for the goal. No mark for the second goal. Yeah. Then Hoyland. Then it was just a case of Bayern are 2 up their cruise, and we got lucky enough goal at Hoyland. They scored directly again, and when it went 3-2, they scored again, and then we scored in the last minute. So yeah, as Kevin was saying, it was not a 4-3. It was not a thriller. We somehow got battered, but lost by a goal. And yeah, there was nothing positive from the game bar Hoyland scoring.
Yeah, I remember now. It was a bit of I mean, the scoreline definitely flattered us, but I remember them dominating and a couple of deflections and a couple of odd moments in the game, and then eventually ended up being 4-3 Casemiro with a couple of goals. God, I completely forgot. I thought it was 3-1. I must have predicted that in the last show. Wow, my brain's broken. But yeah, anyway, obviously we're expecting a lot different game tomorrow, a much better result, a much better performance, obviously after the weekend, with playing Palace twice in a week and battering them in the League Cup, to coming back to Old Trafford at the weekend and then being absolutely destroyed by them at home, which obviously isn't good. I thought the effort and the lack of care came across from the players. There's definitely something not right with the body language of some of them. But what are you expecting tomorrow? Obviously, there's a big game, almost a must-win game, especially to stay in the Champions League tomorrow to sort of kickstart the campaign. What do you make of tomorrow? What are you expecting, Kevin?
We have to win, don't we? That's the only thing to really expect here. It has to be a win. This is our home game against who I suppose would be for third place in the group. You'd say this is second and third place, wouldn't you? I'm not sure about if how good the other team are, but I mean, it'll be Wilfred Zaha coming back. They have Icardi. They have a few good players. Yilmaz. They have a few good names there who are kind of castaways from Europe, from bigger leagues in Europe, and that's really what the Turkish league is. But they can come back and bite you. And if we played like we did against Brighton, our second game against Crystal Palace, I'm sure they can come back and bite us as long as they leave their penalty routines out of it. If anyone's seen that.
Well,
yeah, it was pretty brutal.
Yeah,
I think everything around the club's perfectly described as being brutal at the moment. I think. I mean, in terms of obviously Bayern Munich go to play Copenhagen tomorrow, and we play Galatasaray at home. Ultimately, tomorrow and winning that game could put us in second place, put us right back in the mix. I think. Looking at the group when it was drawn, I think a lot of people probably expected United to get that second place spot. Are you expecting any different tomorrow, Jamie? Do you think it should be an easy win for us, or do you think that Galatasaray could spring a surprise? Because make no mistake, they obviously signed a lot of good players in the summer, Galatasaray. And do you think they could come to Old Trafford and cause an upset tomorrow, or do you think United should go properly back to business and actually turn up tomorrow like they have been doing recently?
That'd be nice, wouldn't it? Man U turn up. Goodness. I don't think any game's easy at the moment, mate, because there's a lot going on behind the scenes. There's a lot of mess. It's probably very difficult for the players at the moment because they can't just do their job. And it's the same with Ten Hag. I feel like he's managing more off the pitch than on the pitch at the moment. You'd like to think United would beat Galatasaray at home, like in the Champions League game. Like, it's just ridiculous that we're going into games now not even thinking we're going to beat a team like Galatasaray. No disrespect to them. They're a massive team in Turkey, but they shouldn't be coming to Old Trafford and beating Manchester United. Let's be real. But we're not Manchester United at the moment. There's massive holes in the team. The fluidity is not there. There's no confidence. The whole team's a mess at the moment. The club's a mess, to be honest, and it's filtering down onto the pitch, whether what people want to admit it or not. And Galatasaray will be coming like every other team that's come to Old Trafford this season and fancying the job. I don't think that it's got that fear factor about it no more. I think players are coming and embracing the feeling of playing at Old Trafford. They're not coming and thinking, God, we're going to have 10 men behind the ball here and we're going to be penned in for 75 minutes. That's not Man United no more. So I think we've got to be a little bit realistic in our fan base and our expectations of what we are at the moment. And we're not the Man United we were all brought up with. I don't think people fear us. I think they come to Old Trafford now looking forward to the experience. It definitely doesn't have that fear factor anymore, which I think we will get when we go to Turkey, because that's not a nice stadium to play in. none of them are. But Besiktas, Fenerbahce, Galatasaray, they're all horrible atmospheres. And United fans probably wouldn't be confident going over there and getting a result in Copenhagen and in Galatasaray because of the way we're playing at the moment. I don't think we have that confidence in the team, which is a shame, really, because we've got lots of good players, but there's just something not right at the moment. And they have spent very well. They recruited really well, particularly Zaha, who we've watched in the Premier League for a lot of years, was obviously at United, didn't really work out for him, which was a shame. Very talented player. They've got players like Icardi that are proven goal scorers, and United's leaking like a broken tap at the moment with goals, and they're going to come with their tails up, and they're going to fancy the job. And it's up to Ten Hag to pick the right team. If he goes with favourites again, we could be all on. You'll be doing this show tomorrow night on a post-match game, talking about another defeat. That's just the reality of being a Man United fan at the moment. Unfortunately, we don't have that confidence in that group of players at the moment, which is a shame because it's hard to watch us at the moment. It really is, and I ain't going into any game at the moment thinking that's a banker, which we should realistically. I mean, 4 of us are around the same age, I'd probably say. Maybe you're a bit younger than me, I don't know. But like we should be beating Galatasaray at home. You know what I mean? But I don't think anyone on this panel is sitting here thinking it's a banker. I definitely ain't anyway. So, yeah, we're just going to have to wait and see. But it's up to the manager to get the team right. So we'll have to wait and see an hour before kickoff tomorrow. And then I'll tell you on my Twitter if you want to have a look what I think is going to happen when I see the team. But, yeah, we should be looking forward to a Champions League night, shouldn't we? Let's be honest with you. But we're not, are we? So, yeah, we'll have to wait and see on that one. But I'm confident we're going to win, but that's my heart talking, not my head. So we'll see what happens, won't we?
What are your thoughts, Peter? Are you expecting a different Man United tomorrow, or are you expecting Galatasaray to come and give us a game and us to struggle again?
Like literally what the lads have said, you can't be confident of anything at the moment. Like there's no you don't have any trust in them just showing up. Like I thought the Palace, like the Burnley win and the Palace mid-cup win, it kind of felt like, okay, line in the sand moment. You got just had to win at Burnley, pass up defence, so on. Should have built some spirit in the team. Palace, few goals, bit of confidence and so on. And then it was, you've got Palace, Galatasaray and Brentford at home before an international break. It's a good chance to change the mood and the narrative around the team and the club, because nothing changes the mood like a few wins and a bit of fake optimism and hope and obvious delusion amongst us. But you kind of need it. And the Palace game just felt like, oh Jesus, this is much worse than we probably thought it was. There's a serious issue, and I know you could talk about the Glazers and all these different things and off-field trouble, but Palace at home, that was just coming down to passion, spirit, all the Roy Keane intangibles. No one seemed to give a rat's that we were losing 1-0. No one was working hard really bar Mount and Hoyland. So it's on the players and Ten Hag, and it's Ten Hag's job to inspire the players, pick the right team, set the tactics, don't be so predictable in our play. So there is no excuse. If we lose to Galatasaray at home, you can't blame the Glazers or the fact that we don't have Martinez. We have more than a good enough team to be beating Galatasaray. We had more than a good enough team to be beating Crystal Palace, and also a patched up Brighton when they came and battered us. So there is no real excuse. But they have the kind of players, like we've mentioned, Zaha has done well against us in the past. Then it writes itself. Zaha comes back 10 years after he played for United twice and knocks us out. They have, as you mentioned, Icardi. They've Ndombele, the Spurs lad on loan, Davison Sanchez, Angelino, who scored against us for Leipzig. They're actually managed, I saw on Twitter, they're managed by the guy who managed Istanbul Başakşehir when he beat Oli in 2020. That corner goal that Demba Ba ran half the pitch on his own. So it's all set up for another disastrous performance. So I'm not confident at all. But what needs to be done is the senior players in the team, the Casemiros, the Bruno Fernandez's, Rashford, although I think Rashford should be dropped for this game, are the ones who need to step up and just put the foot down. This isn't acceptable, and just grind out wins. Because at the moment, we're not getting beaten by teams who are so much better than us. It's being beaten by teams who run harder, work harder, seem to care more. And that's the issue. So if United go out and actually give an F, they'll win the game. And that's basically it at the moment. Like, and it's on Ten Hag to kind of get that out of them.
Well, yeah, I think it's important to note that, really, isn't it? I mean, Man United, the players and the manager are ultimately accountable for the performance on the pitch. Obviously, we can speak about the toxicity from the owners and how it spills down to the players and the manager and into the stadium and onto the pitch. But, you know, you'd expect a lot better from the players that are playing week in, week out. I just wanted to move on to something a little bit different. Obviously, we've mentioned the injuries already, but I've got the list of players that are actually out at the moment. So we are currently missing our first choice right back, our first choice left back, our first choice centre back, our second choice left back, and our emergency signing left back, as well as Kobe Mainu, who was supposed to be coming into the team to help Casemiro and to help the likes of Amrabat and Mason Mount and among others. So in terms of obviously, I think it's you, Jamie, that mentioned before that the team that we have should be more than good enough, but does that amount of injury crisis sort of not sort of affect us, but does it not really make a big difference in terms of, you know, the cohesion in the team, and in terms of, does it not really impact the performance? Should we not sort of give that little bit of benefit of the doubt to the team because of the amount of injury? Or Peter, I'll stay on this one because obviously I think it was actually you mentioned it just a minute ago. Obviously, the injuries are having a big impact. It is quite, especially with the performances. So is there no sort of benefit of the doubt that should be given to the manager and the team, considering we are missing so many?
No, it's obviously a mitigating factor. And like the off-field issues, like there's no doubt as a player, it would impact you. The Greenwood situation, there could be a lot of players in there on both sides that were friendly with him, or other guys who did not want him coming near the club. The Anthony situation, these guys you see every day, that like this Jadon Sancho situation, they're not helpful whatsoever. And also like injuries and so on. And like, there's been no continuity in the team this season. There's been a lot of disruption and so on. But you kind of need to, that's like part and parcel playing for a massive football club is kind of like, yeah, like shit's going to happen. You need to respond to it. You can't be like, oh, downing tools. Oh no, we're missing a few players. That means you work harder. Like you put the shift in because there's other guys missing. And I know you could say like Kobe Mainu, like he was supposed to have a role this season, but like you can't be saying a guy who's played like 10 minutes. He's played 10 minutes, I think, in the Premier League for us. So he's not like, it's not really an excuse. And I think only from the weekend, the only issue you could really say is like, well, we got Amrabat's playing left back. That's not great. But the rest of the team, that is the midfield, Mount, Bruno, Casemiro, that we thought would be the first choice. Then you had Rashford, Højlund, Palestra, who people wanted to have starts. Dalot and Wan-Bissaka, there's not much between them. Like neither of them are like very extremely good. So there was no. I think if we've injuries all season, you can be like, okay, fair enough, that did affect us, but it just at the moment it just seems like it's the spirit and like just when things go wrong, they're just like, oh no, what can we do about it? Where there was no like roll your sleeves up and like dig in. That seems to be missing. And I actually spoke about last week on the pod with Keane and Nathan. We were saying like the Burnley win, the three players that we were all talking about were Johnny Evans, Hannibal, and Reguilon. Three lads who took their opportunities they got in the team and really like put a shift in. Whereas it seems like some of them are kind of like go 1-0 down to Palace. There wasn't a response. It was just like, what do we do now? Almost an acceptance that we're going to lose. So like you just can't be using injuries if you're playing Man City, like not if you're playing like Galatasaray. So I just don't buy into it. I think it's a cop-out. And also a cop-out when everyone goes, when we lose, like, oh, it's the Glazers' fault. It's the Glazers' fault we're not winning. Like, they are the root cause of all the issues with the club. But they're the reason we're not top of the tree anymore and the best in class across the board. They're not the reason we, like, get out-fought by Crystal Palace. That's on the players, like you as an individual. Like, do you have it in you to be at this club? So, yeah, I just don't think it doesn't add up. To be losing this amount of games, you can't blame it on injuries. And we have a big squad, to be fair, as well.
Well, yeah, I'd probably agree with that, to be fair. I mean, ultimately, football is just, I mean, it happens probably similarly maybe to Liverpool, I guess, a couple of years ago. Probably maybe to a little bit less of an extent, if memory serves me right. But football's a squad game, and surely you could use that squad a little bit better. I've not got stats for how much rotations happen, but Kevin, coming over to you, do you think the injuries are playing a big part in the sort of recent performances, or do you think it's something else? And do you think it could be an excuse that could be used for tomorrow if you get a hopefully inevitable bad performance comes? Do you think injuries can be to blame? Do you think it sort of brings us a little bit of benefit of the doubt to them?
Injuries will be blamed because people will blame anything, especially if you're a coach. But it can't be. I mean, we've signed the players. If you look at the players injured as well, 4 of them are Ten Hag signings, 3 from this year, isn't it? So can't just be blaming injuries on guys you've signed that summer. Did we lose you there for a second, or?
Oh, just the camera went off for some reason.
All right,
I think
camera went off. All right. Okay, but when you sign players that then get injured, I mean, you can't. You really have to think. Right, I had a good enough squad before this to. I mean, this was meant to be an improvement on the squad, so we have that. Now, this is a team, remember, that couldn't beat a 10-man Copenhagen, so we should be beating them at home. Their injuries are not. They still couldn't beat that team, and it's just such a nightmare with Man United players. So it seems you sign for Man United and you get injured. It just seems to be a common theme there. We signed a guy from Arsenal this season, a doctor that was meant to sort out our injury crisis and has done nothing. Is it the training routines? Fans will look at everything, but it's just amazing. We can't blame the injuries when we have such a big team. I'm sure the coaches will, but we can't. We really can't give a benefit of the doubt to them, because it's not like Amrabat looks like an idiot out there. I mean, he looks really good at left back. He looks like he looks how Camavinga looks at Madrid, kind of, able to play centre midfield and able to play left back, just a utility guy. So we can't blame injuries.
What do you think, Jamie? Just playing devil's advocate, because that is the name of the podcast. So obviously, Jamie, what do you make of the injury crisis? And crisis, isn't it something that could be blamed? Peter, obviously, feel free to jump in, mate.
Yeah, jump in, Peter, if you've got something to say.
Sorry, I was just going to say on the doctor. Sorry, it was just on the doctor, Gary O'Driscoll, the fellow Irishman, actually. He used to work for the IRFU, but he only joined. I know it was announced in the summer that he was coming in July. He only joined in 2 weeks ago. I think it was after the Burnley game or the Brighton one, and that was what club, any club, let alone the club that calls itself the biggest in the world, doesn't have their doctor in place for pre-season, or he should have been the one. They should have got him in, paid off whatever to do with Arsenal, and had him okay, this is how we're going to operate. For this is what we're going to do, work with the fitness team and so on to make sure the players are all right. And I think it was Mourinho or someone who said that the medical thing they've been working, they had lads working there on freelance almost, kind of interim basis. It's been a joke for ages. And I know Kevin's saying there, players come to United and get injured. It's not a coincidence. It's definitely fitness, coaching, and all these different things and how they're looking after the players. And you could tie that in with Martinez. Martinez coming back with a broken foot. And sorry, I think I broke off there. You could mention that Martinez came back with a broken foot, clearly not fully healed.
Yeah, I thought so. Yeah, I can hear you better now. I think the Manes thing has blown my mind, how he's aggravated an old injury from only 4 or 5 months ago. I mean, that's incredible. And you are right. I think the new doctors only came in a few weeks ago. It was all announced that this new amazing doctor was coming in from Arsenal and we were going to sort injuries out. Well, I mean, I don't know the situation fully, but how was he not in place? How was not somebody else in place?
I have no idea.
Enlighten me in the comments, because I'm not a complete expert. But Does anybody know if we did have a doctor or a temporary doctor? Surely Man United wouldn't have allowed
There
start
was
season.
one. There was an interim in place. I don't know his name, but it was all very like just so, like I was saying, the best in class stuff. I said this last week. Like City obviously have cheated and they're owned by a country, so we'll put that to the side. But they do have the best in class in everything. They're the best doctors, they're the best medical team, they're the best fitness team, and we're just kind of like working on the hop and kind of like, yeah, we'll fit him in here, a little like stopgap, and we'll like even the thing with the roof being like, oh well, when there's a gap, when there's a leak or something, we'll fix it. Like we just fix the whole stadium. Like they never like work ahead of time. It's always reactive. So
Yeah,
there is clubs who get tons of injuries. It's not luck. Like it's always, there's more to it. And you can look into a lot of the injuries. It's not like lads are getting their legs broken. It's like hamstring, groin, certain things here and there. You can maybe for Luke Shaw, it is the leg he broke before, and like he's got injured himself in that leg, which is like that. We don't know exactly what happened there, but like Reguilon comes, he's already injured. Amrabat comes with an injury. Hoyland comes with an injury, which fair enough, but there just seems to be no like. Everything seems so like they're not looking into everything. It's also like, yeah, we'll just throw them out there, see what happens. Whereas the best teams get the tiny little details right, and then they all add up, and it leads to bigger things. Whereas United just don't do anything of note.
Jamie, do you want to jump in?
I'm just having a little chuckle because it just sums Man United up that they'd bring an interim doctor in, doesn't it? I think that just randomly bringing lads in for a few months that can do a job just in case there's something happens in the medical room, and now it's full, and they don't know what to do, and this poor guy from Arsenal's got to come and fix it all. But I just think but if that's true, I don't know whether it is or not. Well, it must be, I presume, but I think that just sums it up. But going back to the team, the injuries don't help, of course they don't, but it's part and parcel of football at top level. Teams get injuries. You can analyze it until the cows come home with regards to what if we had him, but we don't have them. But what we do have that nobody seems to look at, because they just look at the players we don't have, our back line is all international players. Our goalkeeper is an international player, although that's sort of questionable at the moment. Apparently he's going back, isn't he? So let's just call him an international goalkeeper. We've got a Brazilian in midfield, a Portuguese, an English international if Mount starts tomorrow. Amrabat's a Moroccan. Like, they're all international footballers. Do you know what I mean? The issue with Man United is not the injuries. The issue is the balance in the team. And the balance in the team isn't right. And that's why we're not getting performances, because our bigger players are key moments, match-winning performance moment players. They're not doing them moments at the moment. We got one with Bruno the other week against Burnley. Great goal, fantastic goal, to be honest, world-class goal. Probably the only player on the pitch that could do it, but them moments are not happening as much as they were last season. Rashford couldn't miss last season. He looks like a League Two player this year. Do you know what I mean? The cohesion's not right in the team. All the issues off the pitch, like I said right at the start of the show, are filtering onto the pitch, and it must be I think I heard something earlier today. I was listening to a podcast on my way home from work, and someone said, I think the biggest reality check of being a Man United player was when Hoyland came on, for his debut. He didn't get one shot on target. He got no service. That's what it's like being a Man United number 9. You come on for your debut, you're all excited, you're fit now, you're buzzing. Not one single chance on the graveyard shift. And I thought, you know what? That is absolutely spot on. And these players are internationals. Yeah, we've got injuries. Yeah, go for it.
Is that not, he didn't get a lot of service, but is that not because we rely so heavily on Rashford and Bruno to create all the chances, and there's nobody else to step in or step up to actually help make those chances?
Yeah, but do you know what it is though, Callum? Like, I think you're spot on, but it's coaching. Do you know what I mean? It's coaching. Like, and this is why I'm fully behind Ten Hag. Sorry, I nearly said Van Gaal there. I was having that conversation at work earlier. I'm fully behind Ten Hag, like I love the guy. I think he's great for the club. I just don't think the settings are right for him. but he has to take some responsibility. We're the only team in the Premier League that wingers don't cross the ball. Like, do you know what I mean? They do not cross the ball. They'll get it wide. I mean, Palestri is probably the only one that looks to hit the byline. Rashford will go round and look for the cutback, but never ever puts the ball in the box for a head. And Højlund's good in the air. I mean, well, it was from what I've seen at Atlanta. I watch a lot of Italian football. He looked brilliant in that team. They were playing to his strengths. Ours is always cutting back to the fullback, and then it's back to the centre-back, and then it's switching play, and then it's coming back to the centre-backs. It's like the basics of football. Just put the ball in the box sometimes. Like, look at the chances we created against Palace were from good crosses. Mount should have scored. You know what I mean? It's like, do something different. Like, if plan A is not working, go to plan B. Like, let's move the ball down the channels and get it in early. Let's hit the players in the box with long balls through the air. Dalot's got a great cross on him, very reluctant to cross the ball. Luke Shaw, when he's available, great crosser. You just don't see enough of that, like, plan B from United. And I think the balance of the team is the bigger issue than injuries. The injuries are massive, don't get me wrong. We've got some quality players out. Bissaka, Luke Shaw, Martinez, like, they start every week if they're fit. Do you know what I mean? We'll give or take Bissaka maybe with Dalot. Ten Hag likes Dalot. So do I, to be honest with you. But it's like, get the balance of the team right and then go from there. We've got two defensive midfielders who are ball-winning midfielders, but one's playing left-back at the moment. Do you know what I mean? Give yourself a chance. Like, I coach football myself, and sometimes you've got to stick to the basics and just have an individual role for a player. It's like we're complicating so much up because this is top-level football. Don't get me wrong, not under 14s like I coach, but it's the same principles. Football is football. It's 11 versus 11. One game plan meets another game plan. Whoever's game plan's better wins. And it's like, I don't feel like we've got that right with United at the moment. And we've got a striker that's coming in with a lot of pressure on his shoulders because he's got a reputation. The kid's 20 years old. Play to his strengths. Give him the ball into his feet and spin off of him, or put it into his head. He makes nice little runs. It's just like we don't have that variation in play. We play one way, and when one way doesn't work, we don't win. And you've seen it for a completely different quality of club the other night, Man City against Newcastle. When plan A didn't work, they got beat. And I feel like that's it with United as well. They've got this philosophy of, right, let's keep the ball. Yeah, but what about when that's not working? Are you just going to just drop points because you're not willing to do something different? I just think the whole balance of the team is wrong personally. And I feel like the bigger players need dropped when they're not performing, not because they're not good players. They're just not playing well. And there's a bigger picture with regards to, like, the team instead of the result. It's like there's got to be cohesion between that team, and if it ain't fitting right, that 11, change it. Do you know what I mean? I think that's a bigger issue. The team selection and the favoritism is a bigger issue than the injuries at the moment, in my opinion.
Yeah, sorry, my signal completely went there. I'm on the phone now. Completely agree with what you're saying, Jamie. Like the cohesion, like I was saying, like during the game last week, like we get on the break, like fast play, get to the box, and then everyone stands still, and we just pass it around. Everyone cuts back inside. Palace got set. Anderson and Gay, good centre backs, no problem. They're like, grand, just you're just playing in front of us. That's absolute. That's all we want. All 90 minutes, grand. And like I said, there's no like, what's the plan B? Like, let's start whipping across it. Like you said, there was a few times I was watching Match Today last night back, and there was one, like, the ball came to Dalot, and it's like, just hit that first time, cross that first time. And it did slightly feel like Van Gaal. Do you remember? It was like, you have to take a touch before you shoot. Those things. And it was like, just get that ball in quickly. Play quick football. Don't be slow and plodding. So, it all just feels like they don't know. There's no movement. There's no runs. There's no anything. Like, Højlund's been playing well, and the whole place good. There's no one running off him. There's no one playing quick balls into him. You're a quick striker for a change after years of Martial coming short, and no one plays him in. And that's why I think we have to get Garnacho into the team for tomorrow night.
Yeah,
someone who a bit of impetus. And I do think, like you mentioned with the favoritism thing, Solskjaer did this the whole time. Like, we lost 5-0 to Liverpool, and he played the same guys next week, which is just, these guys let you down. Like, you can't play them. Don't get dropped. And there has to be like consequences for poor performances. So I do think Rashford needs to be dropped and kick up the arse. because otherwise, like, it does just sap the morale of the lads behind them, being like, how do can I never get a game? So I do
There's
think
no
on the back of that
accountability for
Alistair,
performances. That's the
oh yeah,
problem. And the thing is, you can analyze it all night about what's wrong at United, but I think that if you point the finger to the manager, which I'm more than happy to do, I support him. I've said a minute ago, I really rate him. I hope he's here long term. Like, there's rumors he's going to get a new contract. I hope that he does, But you can't. You can get away with a plan A at Ajax because you might only lose to PSV and Feyenoord and maybe a Utrecht or someone like that on a difficult away game at Ajax. You might lose 3 games a season, but you don't get away with just a plan A in the Premier League. And I almost feel like it's like, if he doesn't fix the issues in the team, it's going to cost him his job. Like, it actually is. And I feel like it's like, I've been here before with managers, like with Jose, and you felt like it was the same with him. If he doesn't change something, he's going to get the sack, because results are results, and you're not going to, the fan base ain't going to stick there forever if he keeps dropping points. Do you know what I mean? And I like to think the fan base are more than intelligent enough to realize that the manager's not the problem at Man United. It doesn't matter who's in charge. But
you ever logged on Twitter, Jamie?
What's that? Sorry?
You ever been on Twitter? I think you give a lot of this moronic fan base a little bit too much credit, if I'm honest.
we don't.
Well, yeah, probably. But, he's not going to get away with that mindset at Ajax. But the thing is, the reason why he got the job was because he played forward, fast-thinking football at Ajax. That's why we all wanted him. So why can't he implement it? There's a reason. I don't know what it is. Does he not have the right personnel? Are the players just not willing to change? Is there a hierarchy telling him that he can't do certain things? I don't get it. I honestly don't, because I'm not going to be one of these guys that sits here and be like, look at Ange. I like Celtic. I know you do as well, Callum. Like, look at Ange's football at Tottenham now. Like, we've seen that at Celtic. Like, look at De Serbi. It's easy to look at all these managers that are doing great. But why can't we have an identity? Like, what's wrong? Like, why? Why can't I see anything that's different? Like, defensively, we were solid last year, and now we look awful. Yeah, injuries, I get it, but it's like, there's got to be something changed, because it can't carry on like this, because we're just not getting results. And I feel like he's going to end up getting the bullet if he doesn't change. And you can't be loyal to players that have let down previous managers. He's got to pick the team that he thinks is going to win the games, and if it upsets people, it doesn't matter for me. It's not about upsetting players. It's about the club and getting results, and keeping his job, to be honest with you, at the moment. Because I don't know what yous feel like. But sorry, I'm going on here, so I'm going to shut up in a minute. I don't want to know what you boys feel like, but tell me after. I think he's on thin ice, Ten Hag. I really do. If we get a couple of bad results, the Wolves are going to come out.
Yeah, I think. Just 2 points quickly. I think, like you said, De Serbi and Postecoglou, it's a different beast. Like, United's a different beast to Spurs and Brighton. It's not even the same ballpark. And I know, like, that's not what you're saying, but I don't think those managers wouldn't come to United. It just wouldn't work. Like, like you said, we don't know what it is. Like, there's something so deeply ingrained. It's like the culture. It's like the United's default setting is shambles. And even when we get out of that, we fall back to it so quickly. That's why we always, like last season, I presume all of us thought it was a good season, really good first season for Ten Hag. But the minute, like the domino effect, it falls so quickly back to like default setting of we're awful again. The club's falling apart and everything needs to change. So I do think we need to just he needs results. We also have to a bit of patience, and you can't turn the manager that you loved last season after 8 or 9 games. But also, like you said, you can back a manager and still criticize him. We all criticize Fergie, like every single one of us. We just don't, because you look back and everything with nostalgia. Like, we were criticizing Fergie for playing 4-5-1 or being too defensive, or saying that there was only there was no value in the market, kind of defending the Glazers. Like, Fergie got a lot of criticism. It's just the way things work now, and especially with social media, that you're either in or out. There's no middle ground. Like, I'm fully behind Ten Hag, but I'll still criticize them. And I don't want every player sold, but they're not doing well enough at the moment. So it's a weird one, yeah. But he needs results, because the fear is that he becomes a victim of the wider malaise at United, and we're like, who would get the job if he left? Like, who would take it anyway?
Well, it was literally the point I was going to make. Yeah, I mean, you mentioned it there, Jamie. I do like Postecoglou, of course I do, and I growing up, well, I was very much a bit of a follower of Celtic as well. Obviously, I'm a United fan, but I kept an eye on Celtic to see how they were getting on.
Same.
But Postecoglou, De Zerbi, managers would fail at Man United because they haven't got the structure above them and behind them to actually succeed. People that are calling for Ten Hag's head need to realise it isn't the manager. You're both spot on. You can be behind the manager but still criticise. You can also not want it sacked, and it's amazing that some people don't understand that. Like, you're completely right there, Peter. Like, you're either in or out. There's no in between. There's no, I still think he could have done better, but I still back him. There's never an in between, and that's the problem with people, with idiots online, particular ones that I think who I'm alluding to. But there's no middle ground. You can completely understand that you want your manager to succeed, but you can still criticise him, and you can say, "Oh, I think he got the subs wrong," or we're fans at the end of the day. We're allowed to scrutinise and hold our team accountable. It's simple as that. I want to come on to one thing, and then I'll get score predictions from you. Rashford's form at the moment, is it a worry? Kevin, I'll come to you first because I'm aware you've not spoken for a little while.
It's a very strange one, isn't it? It's the commentators were actually saying it during the Crystal Palace game, and I actually agreed with them, which was a bit strange. Usually, I don't agree with the commentators, but they'd say, he, instead of just cutting in and having a shot, he tried the cutest of passes to make a goal for Hoyland, or for another 1-2 or something. Instead of doing what he did last year, which was just using his big physique to power it and speed to power past players, he tried these cute little passes, and I just don't understand why he's not doing that anymore. Last year, we have saw him go past 3 players and rifle it from 25 yards, and he just doesn't do that this season. I don't know if it's a confidence thing, if it's now. Last season there wasn't a striker, and he was making up for that. Was that weight what powered him? I honestly do not know, but he can't keep getting automatically into the team. It's a strange one. It's a strange one. But I mean, Garnacho is the player that should be breathing down his neck and should be taking his place, but it's just he's kind of got an automatic place into the squad. So I wonder, would replacing him with Garnacho for a few games as a kind of, you haven't been performing, you haven't been doing it, so your place has been taken, would that help him?
What do you think, Peter?
Yeah, fully agree there. Like, the maybe the first step of that was, like, we were chasing a goal on Saturday and Rashford got subbed off, which would never have happened last season, and because he was the main go-to for goals. I think that was like Ten Hag being like, "You are not pulling your weight, you're not doing enough for me." And like you're saying, Kevin, like the way he's playing at the moment, he just seems really unsure of himself. The last season he was so, like, just in the zone, in the moment, and he just kind of backed himself, and he knew what he was like. Yeah, he's like, "This is what I'm supposed to be doing," and there was no, like, overthinking what he was supposed to be doing. I do think the absence of Shaw is a big one for him. There's no one on the left-hand side to support him, and he is getting, like, double and triple teams. But if you're getting double and triple teams, pass the ball. Like, you need to pass and move. A lot of the time you see him, like you did say, like, he'd run past 2 or 3 lads, but the moment he's getting to, like, the box and there's, like, 3 lads there and he's trying to, like, run through them all, like he's Maradona or something. Like, he needs to, like, pass, move. As a team, we need to do that, like, cohesive play, bit of fluidity, bit of unpredictability. He's very easy to play against at the moment, I find, and I do think he'll come around. But this is kind of the Rashford we've seen. I thought last season was the line in the sand moment of, like, yeah, he's actually, like, worked out what he is as a player. He's going to be like this, but he is very, very streaky. And you just can't be that streaky if you're a Man United player. Like, this is kind of stuff that we gave out a bit like Nani doing for years, of like 10 games being world class and then go missing for ages. Like, he's 26 at the end of this month. Like, it is time to step up and be that player that you think you are and that we want you to be. And he's got a huge contract. So yeah, it's a weird one. But I hope tomorrow's not a good chance to give Garnacho a run out and like let him play. And I'd play Mount on the right because I just don't think that Mount, Bruno, Casemiro midfield can work.
Yeah, I'd play Mount on the right as well. I agree with that. I'd keep Bruno in midfield. Jamie, what do you think?
I think the two lads have nailed it on the head with Rashford. I think there's a lot of player power at Man United. I think Rashford is the face of the club. I think Bruno's probably not too far behind him. I love Bruno. With Rashford, with me, the problem with it is, and you made a really good point earlier, Callum, I think you did as well, Peter, that you can't be one or the other in our fan base. You either hate a player or you like him. Whereas that's not the case. You got to judge a player on what you see. And just because you're criticising him, you were probably celebrating him last year and crediting him because he was playing really well. I think half of the fan base, probably not even half, 75% of the fan base, let Rashford get away with 3 out of 10s because it's Marcus Rashford and, he had a good season last season. Forget last season. You know, I think he's on such a high pedestal for the majority of our fan base that he can't do any wrong. And it's like he's undroppable. And I feel like they're the reason as to why the club put him on such a high pedestal. And he is the go-to guy, even if he's not playing well, he's in the team. That don't work in football. You know, like if you're at Arsenal, you're at Man City, you're at top clubs and you're dropping 3-4 out of 10s, you're not playing next week. Look at the level of player that Man City have got in their squad. Foden, he'd walk into our team. Can't get a game for Man City. Not playing well. He's playing in their B team, if you will. Same with, he's dropped other players. Mahrez was playing and Bernardo Silva would walk in the Man United team. Couldn't get a game at one point. You know, it has to be like that because that's football. You're never going to play fantastic all the time and you've got to take responsibility. But the problem is he doesn't have a lot of competition on the left. And now Garnacho's coming in. Everybody's seeing this fresh kid that's brave and will take a player on. He'll try and create something. I tell you one thing as well that nobody talks about with Rashford. I can't remember who it was. It was either Kevin or yourself, Peter, talking about, or maybe even you, Callum. I can't remember. Keep me right, fellas, if it was you. You were saying he misses Shaw. I agree with that because Shaw does a lot of his work for him. But a left back misses Rashford as well because his work ethic is awful. He doesn't help out defensively. He's a prime jogger when he needs to come back and track back his man. And that's why Anthony gets a lot of criticism that he doesn't score the goals, but he works really hard. You know, and I think you've got to do both if you're going to play in that wide position for United, particularly if Luke Shaw's not the left back. And you've got a Reguilon there that's not as good defensively as Luke Shaw, so you do need to come and track back. You can't just have it all one way. But he can't do no wrong with some Man United fans, and you criticise him on a social media platform, and that is football nowadays. Like everything's on social media about football. We're all on Twitter. Do you know what I mean? It's all on there. You can't criticise him. It's like, oh, what are you going against him for? I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm criticising what I'm seeing with my eyes because my eyes don't lie. You know, we all watch the same game, and at the moment, he's bang average. He's got a massive contract. Again, from a fantastic season, which the contract was warranted. Don't get me wrong, whatever he's earning, great, do your thing with it. But you've got to perform at that level if you're going to be the top earner at the club and the superstar of the club. And he is. The Glazers love him. PR-wise, if he's a dream. But you've got to be playing well on the pitch to be in the starting 11. And this has to come back to what's happening above Ten Hag. Because he shouldn't be in the team at the moment. You know, but he is every single week. And you can see he's physically drained from the pressure of it all. And he's not willing, he's not brave enough to drop him. Because is it a management decision that, nope, he's the best left winger we've got on show at the moment. There's no one better than him. I was reading the comments where you boys were talking. I think a lad called Alex, sorry, I didn't catch your surname, Alex, said he's a striker. It's not a striker. Like, not for me, he's not a striker. He's an inside left forward. But he's played centre forward. He can't do that role either. So at the moment, he just lacks confidence. And I almost feel like we can all get on at him because we expect him to be so good. I think in our heads, he's an Mbappe. He's nowhere near that level of player. Nowhere near that ability. And I think he almost needs to come out of the team to reset himself. And it's like he's not allowed because something somewhere is happening in the club that maybe it's in his contract. We don't know what's in the contract. Maybe he needs to play 75% of the games. I don't know. But for me, footballing wise, and that's all I try and look at Man United at. Like, and I get we're a business, all that bullshit. But to me, it's a football club that I support. They're my football club. And I look at the decisions that the team shapes making. And for me, he shouldn't be in the team at the moment because he's not in form. And someone else could probably come in and do a better job defensively, offensively, and for the team, and give the team balance on that left-hand side, like a Garnacho, and give him an opportunity and take Rashford out the firing line. But I guarantee tomorrow he'll start on the left wing when he shouldn't start. But it's like you say, that's another one. Will Ten Hag look back in 3 months' time and think, he was really out of form and I still played him, now I don't have a job? So I think that's where it's getting to with picking these superstar players. Because I think, maybe I'm being a bit harsh here, I don't know. But I think we think our players are a lot better than they are. I think Man United have 1 or 2 world-class players, and Varane's one of them. Bruno on his day, maybe. But Varane and Casemiro on their day are world-class players. They're proven world-class winners. I don't think we've got a lot of them in the squad. And I think that's half the problem because we don't have any leaders. We're looking at Rashford to be a leader for Man United. Rashford's not a leader. I'm sorry, he's not a leader.
So, yeah, well, yeah, I think there's lots of different opinions there with Rashford. It's, I think ultimately the one thing we can come to a consensus on is we want to see him doing a lot better because he's obviously our academy product and he's someone that's done so much good for the club and for the community. So we criticise because we want to see him so much better. We'll just finish off now with a score prediction. So, Jamie, quick fire score prediction for tomorrow.
I think we'll win 2-1.
2-1. Kevin?
It's a rocky road with Man United, 3-1 Man United, and on to the misery again then, I'm sure.
Pete, finish us off, mate.
Yeah, well, I'm actually going to the Brentford game, so I think 1 week of non-misery would be actually great. I think 3-1 as well. I think, like, Galatasary have names, but, like, if you're good, you're not playing in Turkey. And if you're good and one of those guys, you're playing in Saudi Arabia on a huge contract. So no excuse, 3-1. And then hopefully can be a launch pad for something better stuff this season.
Hopefully. I'm going to go 2-0. Kevin, where can people find you?
Just that's my Twitter name there. Don't use them much, but here sometimes as well.
Jamie, what about you? Where can people find you? What do you want to show?
I float about now and again on Twitter, usually when United are on, but yeah, you'll just get me at Jam Mackay 1989. Talk a lot of drivel on here like I've done tonight. So yeah, just on there. Just talking United really, ice hockey, Celtic, the crack, Callum. We like Celtic as well.
Aye, of course. Peter, go on. Where can people find you?
Yeah, just ask Pete Fitzpatrick 23 and do some writing for Football 365 as well, which is on my bio as well. So a lot of depressing United articles of late, which are good fun.
Well, make sure you check the guys out, everyone, and thanks for tuning in tonight. Obviously, you can catch me on Twitter with the usual same old moaning about so many different things. But thanks for joining us tonight. Really appreciate the comments as well, and thanks for the guys to joining me as well tonight. I do believe we have a post-match reaction show. I think it's tomorrow straight after the game, so make sure you join the guys for that. And many more shows coming up this week as well. So until then, see you later. Cheers, guys.